there we go. Right, we're recording. Welcome, Melissa Mullins, Coventry's very own. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations. One on the engagement. So I suppose soon to be Dixon.
Yeah, I'm debating double barrel. Like
That's
my
pretty
name.
cool, yeah.
But the Dixon tradition,
Okay.
the Coventry Dixon.
And then secondly, congratulations on your recent success over in Italy.
Thank you.
Winning a silver medal, which was, it's the IMMAF.
The Federation of Martial Arts, the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, IMMAF, yeah.
Right, so tell us about that.
Alistair, who is one of the officials of the Federation, met us at a Cage Warriors event, and kind of at that event kind of put the idea in my head that I would like to attend and be a participant of the tournament. It's kind of been in the back of my mind, and then Jo Doyle, she's now the female coach for the UK Federation of the IMMAF, sent me an invite to come to the open trials, whereby there was like 10, 11 girls who attended. You're allowed 2 participants per weight class for each team, and in the females it goes from atom to lightweight.
Right.
So I participated in the featherweight draw, and I was selected to represent the UK. So went along. A few training sessions later, decided how it was going to work, and so kind of like found out what was going to go on while I was out there. Arrived on the 16th. Draw was on the 19th.
Where is this? Where did you arrive?
This was in Rome.
Okay.
Rome, Italy. Right.
So you hadn't even been selected yet? You had to go out to Rome and then...
Oh, no, sorry.
Right.
So I was selected prior to the trial.
Okay.
After the trial, sorry.
What was that like? What did that involve?
So basically we went to the trial. We sparred. We did a lot of drills, kind of, to see what our ability and level was.
Okay.
To see if we could keep up with a mixture of girls, because when you get there, the draw is random. You don't know who you're going to fight.
Right. So who else was there?
So you had in the trial Levi Steedman from SBG Manchester. She is an upcoming name. Megan Morris. She was the junior flyweight gold medalist last year in Bahrain, and that was at Worlds. Who else have you got that one there? Charlotte Bomber. She, again, is another flyweight, and she's said to be quite a strong female. Yep. Lexi Rook. She went out there with a 5-0 record.
Yep. Sorry.
She's the Cage Warriors title holder for flyweight as well on the academy. So the caliber was quite high. And then you had female athletes from other teams. You had a Polish girl who was said to be like the next onset of UFC's sort of atom weight division. You had previous champs that were selected to be on the other teams. So,
just for people that don't know, what was your record before you went out there? Because you're an amateur.
Yeah, I went out with a negative record of 1 win and 2 losses due to decision.
Okay, just watch the mic.
Oh, sorry. And my win was a KO, first round, 16 seconds, and my 2 losses were by a unanimous decision.
Yeah, this was previous to the tournament.
Right,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Who under what promotion were they under?
Fight UK was my win.
Yeah.
Battle Arena were both my losses.
Right.
My last loss, I thought was quite incorrect, and so did a lot of people. But a decision's a decision.
Yep.
Don't let it go to decision.
Okay. So you get selected. You go out. You do your trials. That's all successful.
Yep.
What point do they say, right, you're on the team, you're definitely going? Tell us about that experience. Was it just a case of, right, that's me, booking my flight, I'm off? Or it wasn't that simple, was it?
It didn't feel that simple. There was quite a anticipated wait to find out if you're actually on a team. Right. Despite feeling great in the trials, you never know how people perceive your talent to be or your hard work. So I got a confirmation via message to let me know that I was on the team. And from that point, we had to book our own flights, pay the UK MMA Federation our registration fee and our affiliation fee to the UK IMMAF.
How much was that?
So the flights was around £275, I think, for the returning flight.
Mm-hmm.
The participation fee for the actual tournament was £350.
Mm-hmm.
Accommodation we had to pay, which was around £255 per person.
Right.
And we stayed in a 2-person's room. Obviously food and while you're out there.
Yeah. So did you have to source sponsorship for this?
Yes. So
Okay.
I set up a GoFundMe page.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And I was set out for the target amount of 1,200, I think. I achieved £900 of that, which I'm very thankful for. And again, thank you for everyone that put their sort of
Yep.
participation towards that.
We can plug your sponsors towards the end. Yeah.
And yeah, I went out there with partial funding, and a bit of my own budget.
Right.
I didn't supersede that because I made sure I was sticking to what I could afford.
Yep.
And then we went out there, and then kind of the onset of
Right. The tournament began.
the tournament began. Yeah.
So, how did it feel?
So
This is your first tournament.
Yeah.
Quite a big one on a big scale.
I think what I was most nervous about is the adrenaline dump. So after
Right.
a BJJ tournament, which doesn't have the power or the consequence of being knocked out,
Okay.
after that I always feel sore. I always feel like I don't want to train the next day, and my body's aching
Yeah.
because you're so excited and so pumped for this event.
Yes. Yeah.
You come down, it's like, oh.
Right.
So I was scared for that feeling after my first fight.
Okay. Did you? Well, tell us about your first fight.
Well, I was actually, in my tournament, I had the most fights out of all the girls in my weight division. I had 4 fights. The draw was on the Tuesday, and later that night you found out who got a bye and who was fighting. And it was me versus a girl from Spain called Veronica. I don't know nothing about her. I couldn't find anything about her record. And you're all trying to find this out literally the day before you fight her. And yeah, so you're there with a blank canvas. You don't know what to expect, what to prepare for, what they look like, if they're southpaw, orthodox, and you don't know how the fight's gonna go ahead. If you're gonna be able to continue to the next round if you win, if you're gonna be able to perform, because you don't know what the game plan's gonna be.
Right.
But yeah,
So
thankfully.
it's very hard to prepare, basically.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
very hard to prepare for.
So how? Well, if that was a barrier or an obstacle, how did you overcome that?
I think having belief in myself,
Okay.
knowing that I am a strong fighter. I've got a great team around me. I've got a calibre of coaches that are beyond a lot of people's. I feel that my hard work and my graft up to leading to this was like it had to pay off no matter what.
Okay. So you did a lot of hard work in the gym, basically.
Yes.
You didn't cut any corners.
No, you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, which teams are you under? Because we know James Dixon, your partner, your
Yeah.
fiance, is one of your biggest coaches.
Yeah.
Who else are you? Which other teams are you under?
So I'd say my home base is Lions Gym Coventry.
Yeah.
They're out of my main martial arts gyms where I started.
Yeah.
But I also train under a previous coach called Jimmy Wardhead, who now has his own gym.
Yeah, from the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Bellator.
Yeah. Yeah. Judo Jimmy.
Judo Jimmy.
Yeah.
And he opened his own gym with Dan Hardy, who is a UFC challenger to the title.
Yep.
And now former Cage Warriors presenter and UFC backstage sort
Yep.
of co-host.
That's over in Leicester.
Yeah, Colville, Leicester.
Okay.
Or Leicester Colville, should I say. And I go over there 3 times a week.
Okay. And how many times are you here in Lions?
I'm here as much as I can be because of
Yeah.
my job. I'm here for the advanced training on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I'm here for the 3 hours of Tuesdays evenings classes. I hope that I can get here a little bit more, but at the moment, with funding and budget and whatnot, I have to work as much as I can in order to pay for what I'm paying for.
What's the job?
I'm a gymnastics coach.
Okay.
I teach children between the ages of walking and up to teenagers. I'm there from 2:30 every day, apart from a Saturday where I work all day.
Did you do gymnastics yourself?
No.
No.
I come from a non-sporting background.
What is your background?
I started off sports, I guess I could say, when I was 12.
Right.
Football, sort of fell out of love with it going towards university. Just before I started university, I found the sport breakdancing, b-boying.
Now, that's interesting. How do you find the breakdancing applies or helps you with your BJJ?
Definitely with the flexibility and the ability to hold your body, or sort of your centre of gravity. You're able to understand it a bit more. So there's a lot of like sweeps. A sweep is where you go from one position and you end up on the opposite position, so top to bottom, bottom to top kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if I was on the top and someone tried to sweep me, I'm more so able to sort of counter the sweep and end up in a more advantageous position.
And you think breakdancing gave you the good foundation for that and the basis?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, cool.
A lot of like neck muscles. So
So a bit of spinning on your head.
yeah, exactly. Like kind of had that pre-preparation towards it all.
So, how long have you been training? And well, I would say, did you get into MMA or did you do BJJ first, or?
I kind of jumped into the deep end. So
did you?
I lived a 2-minute walk that way from the gym.
Yeah.
I say that way, but out the exit of the Lions gym.
For those that are listening, we'll just say 2 minutes walk. This will be on a podcast as well. So yeah.
So yeah, I walked past it. I walked past it a few times because obviously it's on the way home.
This is when you were at uni?
No, this is post uni. I've finished university.
What did you study at uni?
Sport and exercise
Oh,
science.
brilliant. Okay, cool.
So this is, say, a year past uni. And at this point, I'm still breakdancing. But a situation happened. I stopped breakdancing. I wanted to find something else. I've always been curious in martial arts.
Yep.
I've always wanted to try it. Never got around to it.
Right. So what was that turning point where you just said, right, I'm going in?
I literally just walked into the gym. I saw it and I said, I'm going in for a free trial. Let's go try it.
Yeah.
Walked in, met James and at the time another guy who was working on reception.
Yeah.
They said, book it online. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Next day I came in.
Why this gym? Was it because it was so close by, or had you done any research into it, or?
None.
Okay.
I'd done no research.
Right.
I'd literally just thought it was a martial arts gym. It could have been a terrible gym, but a non-experienced person, I wouldn't have had a clue.
You wouldn't have,
No, didn't know about
That's-
Gracie Barra.
That's always a risk, because Lions, for those that are listening, Lions Gym is a Gracie Barra affiliate, isn't it? So it kind of carries with it a
prestigious sort of.
Prestigious member of a very one of the biggest kind of like BJJ clubs throughout the world, if anything. So
it was quite funny. So the story of me, my first class.
What was your first class?
It was a wrestling class with Andre Winner, who is
Another former
UFC
pro UFC.
fighter.
One of the guys that was actually beat Artem Lobodov. You know the guy that just recently won the bare knuckle fight against Paulie Malignaggi.
Madness.
Yeah.
Tough finalist as well.
Yeah. So sorry, go on. He was your first.
Yeah.
Class.
So I don't know if it's because I'm female, but nobody at the time wanted to partner up with me. And when you're a beginner in MMA, you find it a little bit more awkward if you're not confident to kind of throw yourself in the deep end.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's
tough. I think it's tough for everyone, not just like girls. I would say it's probably a little bit more intimidating for girls coming into a predominantly male environment.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's tough in general coming down because it is a, you know, you leave everything on the mat. You have to prove yourself on the mat, so to
Yeah,
speak.
exactly.
And that can be quite intimidating, and it breaks egos.
Exactly, and you don't want to be that guy that or girl that
Yeah.
has an ego on the mat. You want to be you almost get humbled if you have an ego, or you want to be the one that's humble. But yeah, I went in the gym. Nobody partnered up for me apart from the coach, which was an assistant coach, James Dixon to Andre Winner, and we were doing some takedowns, I believe. And James at the time generally thought he was being punked. I went in the gym not knowing that there's that kind of subtleness you have to have. You can't kind of just go in full 100%. You got to be a bit nice to your training partner. I didn't know at the time I was being horrible, so
I don't think anybody knows that today. I think that's something that you learn and you pick up.
You definitely learn it. So I went in there, big double legs, dropped him on his back.
Yeah.
And literally nobody stopped me. That's the thing. And everyone was just like, the reaction was like, oh, like that's all you heard from the drops. And that continued for maybe 3 months with different training partners. There was a student that came along that became my training partner, and he doesn't attend anymore, and I apologise to him, but he got that constant sort of double leg, get sprawled upon as hard as he could, as I could, just 100% all the time. And
did you feel you had a point to prove, or was it just you learning?
Yeah,
I suppose, how to train.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I just enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed the feeling of it, like just that sort of power and that aggression you could also almost put in the mat. But I didn't realise that you can be nice about it as well. And I definitely learned that, and now I'm a person to say if someone's going maybe a bit stiff or a bit hard or a bit spasticated, in turn they may cause injury. I'll ask them kindly to tone it down. Like, you don't have to be this kind of brute on the mat. But I won't ever say it with like the authority of I know better, because you don't want to be like that.
How would you say it? Chill out.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
or take it easy.
Just, excuse me, do you mind just being a bit more lighter, or you're doing this, but maybe you could do it a little bit more so like this.
Right.
And if they ask questions, I'm always happy to help as well.
So that was your first session with your, back then, training partner, now fiance. You dumped him on the mat. And then, what happened there? Take us from there.
I literally was in the gym, Lions gym at first, because Hardy Wallhead wasn't existing.
Yeah.
And I was in the gym every evening. I was obsessed with it. Not so much watching fights or going to competitions, but I just loved the aspect of kicking, punching, wrestling, all these abilities mixed into one, and I sort of that sort of chose my path. Like, I wasn't specific jiu-jitsu, I wasn't specific kickboxing, I just loved it all.
You were training all three disciplines, I take it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe more, some might say.
Right.
So I had wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, grappling, MMA classes.
Yes, yeah. Because there are slight differences, obviously. You know, the MMA integrates the striking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the wrestling integrates the jiu-jitsu and the nogi. And since then, I don't think, apart from the days where you feel a little bit lazy and tired, there's not a day where I don't think about the gym, or a day where I don't miss the gym. Like, I want to be there as much as possible, and it's not just me for me going there, it's the team, it's the vibe, it's the atmosphere, it's the integration of what you become. Like, you become addicted to it. Like, you have a love for a lot of people in the gym, and you build really good bonds and friendships. Although it's a solo sport, in the cage you're actually there with a lot of people.
Have you ever looked back, to pictures and seen physically? Because it's quite. Well, first thing I said to you when I went up earlier was, "Whoa, you've definitely been in a training camp of how physically you've changed, and thought that is phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, does that apply? I mean, do you think? How would you describe the change from when you first came in, more on a mental aspect, in terms of your confidence, your persona? What do you think, like training at the gym, MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, how do you think that's helped you?
MMA, so starting with like kind of the martial arts disciplines, I was a very stiff person, a very knowledgeable person. So I've built my dictionary almost, my encyclopedia of moves. So the more I've trained, the more confident I've got in terms of my striking, my knowledge on the floor,
Yeah.
what to do in a scenario if I was put against the cage.
Right.
The aspect of strength and conditioning, I think for me, has been the quickest development in my game. So I started strength and conditioning in January of this year, so 2019, with the Silverback champ strength camps. We go 3 times a week, and for example, my biggest sort of change was physically. You could see it. So I had a fight in November in 2018, and then I had a fight in March 2019, and it was exactly the same weight, exactly the same cut. However, my body physically looked so different.
Right.
You could see more abdominals, definition in the arms. I looked healthier. The cut was easier. And just my strength gains. Like I went to my first strength camp. We did a move.
Where is this, if you don't mind?
Oh, this is in Alsley at Old School Fitness.
Okay, in Coventry.
In
In
Coventry.
Coventry.
Yes.
There's quite I mean, from doing this, I've discovered that there is a wealth of talent and places you can build a good camp on in Coventry. It's a bit of a
No gold mine.
yeah, or a mecca for MMA training if you want to get into it seriously.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of good coaches that.
So what type of stuff were you doing in the strength? Talk me through in the strength camps. What type of stuff were you doing that you weren't doing before?
Cardio, cardio-based endurance as well.
Okay, such as
Airdyne.
Okay.
Ski erg, running with weights and so on. Like endurance training to go from one exercise straight to the next with no pausing.
Okay, so high intensity training. Okay.
Repetitions.
Okay.
Then you've got the strength element. So I've always tried to lift things in the gym, but you lose motivation, especially without a consistency or a program.
Yeah.
And with the strength sessions, they're planned specifically for that class.
Okay.
So I'm able to go from, for example, an 8 kilo weight up to now a 24 kilo weight, for example, in a shoulder press.
As in a kettlebell?
A kettlebell or a dumbbell.
Okay.
It depends on kind of what the exercise is or what it will turn into next.
What other exercises were you doing? What are the disciplines?
Zercher squat.
Yeah.
Zercher, I went from 50 kilos, to 90 kilos.
Right.
And that is one mad exercise. You like balance the bar. Is it a barbell?
Barbell, yeah.
With the weights either side in this bit here.
In the crook of your elbow.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like a front squat.
Yeah.
But an uncomfortable one.
Yes.
And it is very, very hard. And
okay.
just the achievement in that itself is like a proud moment for me.
So quite a lot of compound movements.
Yes.
Although the different variations were in there, but it's things like squats, deadlifts, deadlifting.
Yep.
Yeah. Strict pressing.
Yep.
Above head pressing.
Yep.
Benching.
Yep.
Bench press or yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
he's got more and more equipment as we've gone on. So he's got
Right.
ropes now and
Okay.
bars to do pull-ups.
Yeah.
Maces.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a sledge, so with a
Incline. Yeah.
And he's took advantage of the weather and he lets us go outside as well.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
How do you find that type of training helps or changes everything else in terms of your. So, what I've asked this question I've seen quite a lot on social media, especially with higher end BJJ athletes who are kind of doing quite a bit of CrossFit as well as, you know, strength and conditioning. I haven't really been able to get a definitive answer how they think it helps. A lot of the answers are it makes me feel stronger, it gives me more endurance or strength, but there's the difference in what's required for your body when you're on the mat striking, you know, even on the ground in the grappling aspect, is completely different to carrying out a compound movement and a deadlift. So I'm trying to understand why somebody would integrate that in. How did it work for you? What did you find from it?
First of all, I would say your mind. Your mind, if you lose the battle in your mind, you lose your battle on the mats.
Right. What does that mean though?
Well, for me,
how does that relate to training?
So, for example, in strength and conditioning, if I stay consistent in the same way and I made no improvement, I would see that I've made no improvement, and I would almost think this is pointless. I'm not getting stronger, therefore the reason that I'm here to be stronger isn't going to transfer anywhere else. But for me, because I've seen improvement with my strength, I know that physically I'm stronger on the mats, and that gives me positivity, that gives me the sort of mindset to flourish in training, and it gives me growth in training. It allows me to understand that if I'm strong there, I can transfer that there and do almost the same. So if I'm pressing 50 kilos above my head, I can easily lift an 80 kilo person half that way, and use all of the other compounds of my body to be able to implement that sort of strength.
So it was nice for you to see the results, you know, from a periodized training program where you could start it at a baseline, you could see week on week you were lifting more, working harder. And am I right in saying that gave you more confidence, that you were getting stronger, and that made you more confident when it came to... Now, does the same formula apply when you're doing boxing, jits, or...
I think it...
Because you're a blue belt now, aren't you?
Yes.
Still blue belt. We got our blue belts at the same night, didn't we? Yeah.
We did.
So, you know, what markers do you look for?
I think you see it most in sparring.
Right.
You might pull off a move a few times throughout a 2-week period that you've been practicing, and you then know that that's ingrained in your mind, and you might be able to implement that if the scenario occurs in a match. Boxing, at the moment, my boxing coach is teaching me to slip, weave, roll, parry, and sort of keep my space. Yep. And keeping that space was something that it must be ingrained in me slightly, because in my fights in Rome, I was able to implement that. So I was able to keep my distance away from my opponent. So when I threw, I was just in range to step in and land and
get out.
Exactly.
Brilliant. You're working with
Warren Smith at the moment in Fitness Factory.
Sorry, what's?
Fitness Factory.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts is that?
It's Binley, I think.
Again, in Coventry.
Again, the calibre of coaches in Coventry to upgrade your game.
Yeah.
I also landed a beautiful knee. Like, it's just repetitions and knowing that in training, like, say for example, you were you were my person that believed in me. It allowed me to become to a certain point of my training. When I went back to training,
we're going to get onto that in a minute, after a certain incident that occurred. I
was able to implement that, you know, that capability of I can do it. Yeah. And you don't think about it because it's there. That person's allowed you to add that into your repertoire. Permission,
almost like giving you permission.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yes.
Like,
it's a hard thing to do, isn't it? I think it's hard to accept yourself, there's probably a bit of an inner monologue that stops you from progressing. And it's almost like sometimes when it comes from a higher authority, it's easy to accept.
Yeah.
Which is the relationship that me and you had, because you were my patient when I was your physio.
Yes.
Which was because about 3 or 4 months into jits,
3 months.
3 months into starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what happened?
A guy, unfortunately, we were both quite new into the sport, went past a point of my body which he wasn't meant to do. It became apparent that it was incorrect or awkward. He put pressure on a joint that wasn't meant to go the direction of, what would you call, against the bend.
Yeah, I think weren't, if memory serves me correct, I think was he trying to take you back? You were on your knees.
Yeah, I was.
And instead of either pulling you to the side, he pulled you back, but your knees were still in contact with the mat.
Not quite.
Oh, okay.
He was trying to be on my back.
Yeah.
My leg was based out.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason he passed knee sliced over my based straight knee.
Okay.
And
that's when it popped.
It double popped.
Yeah. So a big audible crack, and it was a complete ACL rupture.
ACL and MCL.
And an MCL. So 2 in one go.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I had to wait until August.
Yeah.
To find out.
Well, when did that happen? When you say you had to wait till August,
March.
Right. Okay.
No, wait, February, March, May.
Yeah.
So I started in February.
Okay. Yeah.
Of 2016. And
so
then,
nearly 3 months.
Yeah, and they kept me in a straight brace. So.
Okay, so they limited your. Was it a Bretta limiter? I think it was, wasn't it? So it
because
stopped
they
your.
didn't know it was torn at the time. They just thought it was a rip.
Okay.
Like a minor.
Okay. Yeah. There's graded strains for ligaments. Yeah. Okay.
And then I went in August after many physio sessions with the NHS physio.
Yeah. Yeah.
With no improvement.
Right.
Still having like complete collapses on the knee. Like.
So was it giving way?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a bit of a red flag. I don't understand why that wasn't picked up. Yeah.
So yeah. I went into the fracture clinic to see the specialist.
Yep.
Yeah. And just said this is still not right.
Right. Well, what symptoms? Okay, so given way, what other symptoms were you experiencing?
It was still very painful.
Right.
I wasn't back in training, so normally you'd have 8 weeks out.
Yeah.
With a tear. I was still out for up to 6 months.
Did you lose any range of movement?
No, not prior to surgery. But I wasn't able to. What's it called when you turn your
pivot?
Yeah, I wasn't able to pivot. So yeah, I did lose range of movement then.
No, but I mean, were you able to like bend your leg all the way in and fully extend it?
Yeah,
that was okay.
But there was pain.
Oh, okay, but it was painful towards the end.
Yeah, but I was able to do it.
And if you pivoted, that was a big no-no.
Yeah, pivot. I felt like
you're gonna collapse.
Exactly.
Right.
Walking, depending on what happened, if it was maybe a slip, my knee would completely give way, and it would feel like it. You wouldn't hear it pop, but it would just feel like a against
shearing.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went in there.
So I mean, it's quite a traumatic event. When I speak to patients, the biggest thing that they report was the fact that when they hear the audible pop, it's not necessarily. And it's said that if you do a complete rupture, it's not painful. It's more painful to do a partial rupture because it's still connected, but you've got all the instability and the complications that come with that. A complete rupture is you almost kind of like, well, that's it. There's no problems now. It's gone. Now you have to deal with a whole new bunch of problems, as in the mechanical aspects of the knee not working or being safe.
Yeah.
What was your experience when it went?
There was
and what were you
scream.
Initially thinking? There always is.
I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I've never been injured in my life. I've broke fingers, but through stupidity.
Right.
But I've never done anything in my life, so I didn't even know what I'd done.
Yep.
And I was there lying on the floor screaming because for me it was the the initial like terror of the sound and the feeling. I don't know what I did. I broke a bone, I dislocated a knee, like
Yeah.
no idea. And I am pausing, and then there's this sort of thudding feeling of pulsating pain, and I'm on the floor. Like my coach Jimmy is like, lay down, stay still. And me being stubborn, I stop crying. I stand up. I'm fine. I'll just sit down for a second, like breathing heavy, like trying to wipe away these tears.
Did you feel like you were going to throw up?
Not quite. I just,
Okay,
I
that's
felt,
a common.
I don't know, just upset because I was enjoying it so much. And
Well, it's acute shock. You do go into acute shock. You talked about adrenaline dumps earlier. You know, when you go into fight or flight before you go into a competition or a BJJ match. A similar thing. A much more ramped up level happens after trauma.
yeah, definitely. It was a mad feeling.
So how long ago was that?
2016. So is that three, maybe 3.5 years ago now when I actually did it.
Now, a lot of people at that particular point would have never come back to the gym.
We had goals there. We had goals.
Cool. Talk to me about your goals. Brilliant. This is great stuff.
So I had my surgery.
Yes. And you had to wait. How long did you have to wait for that?
I had my surgery in September. So I found out I was having surgery in August.
Yep.
And had my surgery in September. I went to a few NHS physios after that point and just was unhappy with it, sort of.
Why? What went wrong?
It didn't feel like there was any progression in recovery. So like, it was a simple, you're going to be out for a year. You're not going to do anything. Your exercises are bend and straighten, like to try and get back its movement, which I understood, but there was no progressions in terms of strengthening the muscles around it or keeping sort of some kind of muscle tone.
What type of, was it a hamstring graft?
A hamstring graft from my left leg.
Okay, so it was a hamstring graft that replaced essentially the ligament that had been torn. Did the consultant put any restrictions on initially? Did he say?
I was in a brace again for another 8 weeks straight brace.
Yeah. So he wanted unionisation of the graft, and he wanted that to heal and knit in.
And then after that point, I was given degrees of angles slowly to increase the movement, but there was no movement in it. After that point, it was stiff as had to stick.
Board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then slowly there was the introduction of the physio, and he had me doing things in his physio room, like lifting up my bottom, like doing a bridge on a ball for stability. Walking in the brace.
Okay.
But after, I think it was, so I came to you in January, I think.
Okay.
I think it was January or February.
Maybe, yeah.
With the wanting to get back into training, because with them I just didn't feel like it was happening.
Did you feed that back to the physios? Did you say, look, I don't feel like I'm progressing fast enough here? No,
I was actually, I told them that I wasn't going to attend anymore.
Right.
Because they're quite overrun, I don't think that they queried as to why. They just said, okay.
Just accepted it. And, right,
exactly.
okay.
I guess if you're happy and they think you're happy, their job's done.
Right.
And yeah, I had ambitions, I really liked what I got into, and I wanted to do something about it, and I've been told that I can't participate in sports anymore because if it goes, it's likely going to go again and again and again. And for somebody like myself, I'm very active.
Well, how did that make you feel when that type of information or that opinion gets conveyed to you? What type of effect does that have on the patient?
For me, I guess overall, for anyone, it would feel heartbreaking, especially if you're a person with sort of ambitions and goals and aspirations in anything.
Yeah.
I feel that for me personally, I was like, you're talking crap. Like, this isn't a definitive thing. Like, it's like having a cold. You can recover from a cold. It's broken bone. You can heal a broken bone. Why can't I heal this? Why can't I go and do what I want to do? So that's why I seeked an external source away from what I was already receiving. So yeah, that's when I come to you. And
So we sat down, we talked about goals, timeframes, the healing process, where you were at that particular point, what your goal was for the next. I think we tied it in with the healing process and the kind of time frame of getting over a full ACL reconstruction and a graft. And we kind of staged and staggered your training and looked at key points where you were making good progression. How did you feel you benefited from that experience? What was the biggest thing you could probably take away from that? Because you did say goals earlier.
Yeah.
So
I think being able to achieve something that you set your mind to do was massive. So one of my 6-month targets, goals, was to get back into some form of training.
Brilliant. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's quite specific. So we like to use the mnemonic SMART, all right, which is S is specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, and T is time. So you put a time frame on something.
Yeah.
And I think when you break your goals down and you give yourself a time frame and you say, you know, within this specific time, I want to be able to achieve this, and this is what I'm working towards, that makes that period a lot easier to get through, you know, to escape the monotony of going over, you know, the same exercises or slight progression, or again, because you have to do something. You can't just sit back and let time, you know, you have to take control of these situations. You can't just let time be a healer. Time is a healer, but you also need to steer your kind of recovery where you want it to go.
I think if you have no motivation, if you're going to do those tedious book-driven sort of exercises that they're told to give you, you stop doing them and your recovery almost becomes at a halt.
Right.
And you won't recover, you won't go back to what you could do, or you'll just listen to them and you won't go back to sport because you're scared.
Yeah, well, that's a valid point. I think what helped us was we were able to build up good rapport straight away because I was on the mats with you at the same time training, and found it personally myself easy to adapt and translate certain exercises that you could do. Because the biggest thing is when somebody goes through an injury is they step away from the environment where they're injured because of the association. Right, I got injured on the mat. It's almost, there's mental scarring as well as physical scarring that goes on, and it crushes people's confidence when they feel they have to go back, unless they can go back to whatever level they were doing before. So I've got to go back 100%, otherwise I can't go back at all. But that's not necessarily true. It's hard. Sometimes you have to put the brakes on and say, look, you can go back in the gym, you can go on the mat. You won't be able to do full-on competition level sparring, or you won't be able to do, you know, any takedowns for the next few weeks.
You've got to have a good understanding of what's possible.
And awareness of your body and what your body is capable of, and you stay within those parameters.
Yeah.
So you did really well in terms of your recovery, really, really well, to the point where I think you even smashed the goal that we said.
Yeah, that was back in July.
And you were back mega quick.
Yeah.
Which I will be honest about, was a little bit nervous inside, thinking, oh, I wish you'd just stick to the original plan. But you were back in terms of, I think it was the British Open, wasn't it, BJJ? Didn't you do that before a fight? Didn't you? I think you went to the BJJ comp.
I had a white belt at the time.
Yeah, that was your first one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't do too well.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like,
No.
It's all experience,
Exactly.
isn't it?
It was my first competition.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, learnt from it.
How did you find, first of all, the knee, the body? How did all that respond to the mat?
In training or on competition?
No, in the actual competition, because obviously the level is a lot higher.
I think again, adrenaline plays a massive role. You feel the niggles always after.
Yeah.
Personally, the way the match went, there was no effect on my knee.
Cool.
didn't feel it after because there was nothing to take away that was affected in the match that put consequence on my knee.
Right.
In fact,
Did that give you confidence going forward? That
Yeah.
you must have took some confidence from that.
for sure, as you said, having that intelligence of where you can sort of push and deliver yourself within training gives you confidence and knowing your sort of ladder of what you can climb to.
Yeah.
So from there, it kind of, I was okay there, so I'm going to be okay. Oh, I got to my next stage, I'm okay here. Can I go a little bit further? And I'm here today, competing in full MMA contact sport.
So you got through all of that.
Yeah.
You had a couple of fights on the amateur scene in the UK.
Yeah.
One in Leicester.
One in Leicester, two in Birmingham.
Two in Birmingham.
Had some interclubs in Leeds
Yeah.
before I
Yeah.
actually come onto the
You
circuit.
competed again in BJJ, didn't you? A blue belt this time.
Yeah, I did nogi
Yeah.
at Cleos.
Yes, and you
And
done
then-
really well in that competition,
Yeah, I got
didn't you?
double
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah.
Then I completed it gi in this competition called Fight Like a Girl. Again, I got 2 golds and a silver.
Can't be right. That's the wrong competition name.
And then that's quite a controversial name as well.
It
but
is,
I won't go into that. And then I went to a Cleos Nogi where I competed in a weight class above what I would normally compete at.
Yeah.
Just because I just couldn't be off the cut weight and I wasn't making the class underneath.
Whilst we're on that, what do you walk around at?
Depends what I eat.
You're never
so-
supposed to ask a woman what their weight is,
don't
but
mind.
as a fighter.
So I fight at 61
Yeah.
normally with a good camp
Yeah.
day before weigh-in. No day before weigh-in, I'll fight at 65, I think. But my now aim is to fight at featherweight, flyweight,
Okay.
which is 57 kg.
What are you walking around at the moment?
Can I say what I was walking at last week after coming back from Rome?
Yeah. Go on.
So in Rome,
Well, roughly on. I tell you what. Look, if you don't answer that,
no,
on an average, what is the weight cut?
on an average,
How much are you cutting?
prior to this mindset, right, I'll explain in a moment.
Yeah.
I walk around my last weight cut. I walked around at 73. I cut down to 65 week of. 65. I got down to 63 day before,
Oh my god.
and then 63. I slept through the night, lost a kilo, and had 2 kilos to cut on fight weigh-ins. But naturally, last week
Yeah.
in Rome, I stepped on the scale light every single day. Naturally, no diet,
Wow.
no water. I was walking at 64.2,
Wow.
and that was simply just taking away chocolate, sweets. You would wake up, weighed in, had a little bit of water.
Yeah.
Went to the official weigh-ins. As soon as I stepped on the scales, come out, had a grenade bar, porridge.
Yeah.
Ate my carbs, ready to fight. Had a few sweeties to have that little sort of pep of energy. But now, this morning I stepped on the scale 69.5, and that's after that sort of binge of.
Yeah.
I think what every fighter does after a fight,
Absolutely.
after a massive 12
Absolutely.
weeks of let's eat cabbage.
Yeah. Your body craves it. You can't. I'm sure they don't call them camps for nothing. Yeah.
So yeah, like confidently, I say I happily walk around at a heavy weight. But my now goal, setting goals again, I want to go down to flyweight at 57. So my ideal walking weight would be about 64, I would say 65, 64.
Okay.
Then I would hopefully cut down to 59 and water cut to 57. That's the goal. If I don't achieve it, I won't be upset. I'm quite a big girl, not in terms of body composition, but muscles, and I'm a little bit above average height. So yeah, like I'm often said, you don't look 73 kilos.
So this has been an incredible journey over 3 years.
Yeah.
No martial arts experience.
No.
Within 3 months of training, you snap or completely rupture your ACL and your MCL.
Mm-hmm.
4 months later, you have an operation. You go through all your rehab, you go through all your recovery, and then all of a sudden, I'm on Instagram watching you in the last few weeks, knocking people out, stopping people in like the first round, second round, getting TKOs, absolutely cutting through this tournament like a hot knife through butter. You got a silver medal in the end, which was a majority decision loss.
Split decision.
Okay, so
It's important.
okay, so split decision loss. And wasn't she Italian as well?
Yeah. Home advantage.
Home advantage,
Home
yeah.
advantage.
In the European Amateur Championships,
And she had one less fight than me.
that's fantastic. I just, how did you carry that momentum forward?
I could actually answer your question. Like, as I said about adrenaline dumps, I thought I was going to struggle with adrenaline dumps. I thought I was going to struggle with diet out there. But everything shocked me. I woke up on underweight every single day.
Yeah.
I was able to eat happily.
Yeah.
I wasn't achy or fatigued.
No injuries.
No injuries. I think even in my last fight, even the fight that I lost, she had some massive right overhands, and I don't know if you can see here. There's like some bruising.
So a bit of bruising on the left-hand side of the cheek.
Literally all I come away from it. And she knocked me with some good right hands.
Yeah.
And I had some devastating low kicks in my corner. Told me to check them. I was just letting them land on me because I was watching, ready to reply with no reply. But yeah, it was the week after where everything just kind of went.
Yeah. What did you think of the competition?
The
level of competition that you were obviously. I mean, I know you beat everyone that was in front of you by the split decision in the final, but the other teams that turned up, there's quite a few countries that actually. I didn't realise because it was open. That meant it was open to the world. It wasn't just a European competition. No. Although it was held in Europe, it was actually open to the world.
Yeah,
so
yeah, Japan, Kazakhstan.
Wow.
I think Albania was there.
Fantastic. It's quite like the Eastern Bloc teams as well, wasn't there?
Yeah. Then obviously you had Team UK.
Yeah.
Italy, Sweden.
Yeah.
Poland. Hungary. So yeah, the caliber. Initially, I actually thought, and I don't want to sound like I was being a big head.
Yeah.
That it was a tournament of kind of a bum level, like journeyman. Not, and it wasn't.
Or amateur level.
Yeah, but even I thought some amateurs in the UK were like a higher level than what I thought was gonna compete. But it wasn't that at all.
Wasn't that at all?
No, not at all. And even Russia smashed it. Yeah. So yeah, I went out there with the sort of idea, thinking it's not as good as it was. And then as I got there, and I saw people running around cutting weight while I was there, training and acting as if they were still ready to go tomorrow. And their fights went for another 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
It was massive. That's when it switched on. It was like, okay, this is serious. And the girls that to be honest, I should have realised that when the team that I went out with, boys and male and female, the level of it, I should have known. And I guess that was my ignorance to sort of the competition, but it wasn't that. It was a high level competition with a great calibre of females and males. And there's a guy from the UK team called Mohammed Mukiv, who's now 15-0. He has all the light shining on him, but still wants to go to Worlds in November.
Wow.
So
it's a good route. It's I suppose it's the sport getting recognised as a sport.
Yes, it's an official federation. It's their ambition is to go to the Olympics.
See what happens. Yeah, you have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I enjoyed the promotion. I enjoyed what they gave and how it was run. The staff were some of them that I met were most incredible people. Even the aftermath of it, after the wins, the losses, the continual comments and support from people that I'd met and staff following up on me. It's been amazing. Like, even the CEO of the official tournament, like come up to me and was like giving me praises. And
you had some amazing finishes. They were absolutely incredible. There wasn't a lot of ground game in there. You
just
did a
the
lot
third
of
fight.
stand up. It was
Yeah.
great though. Devastating finishing on the striking and the punching. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, two first round TKOs standing, 1 third round TKO ground and pound on the floor, and then a full stand up fight, bit of cage wrestling, to a split decision loss.
Nothing wrong with that.
No,
So
happy.
what's next on the agenda?
So, there's two things. There's the possibility of going to represent the UK again in Bahrain in November,
Wow.
providing I reach targets and funding. There's no way on what I receive with this day and age, me finding an additional £2,000 to put aside, especially now with the wedding in hand and just training in general. There's no way of putting that aside. So providing I get my target funding, then I'll be going to Bahrain in November. Prior to that, my management team, Warfight Management, are looking to get me and my partner James matched up on the same show, which is Cage Warriors 109 in October, which is happening in the Birmingham's NEC. So I'll be on the amateur card, he'll be on the pro card.
Brilliant.
And that's looking quite positive. As far as I'm aware, my manager says having a silver medalist, which
It's a good selling point.
Yeah, well,
It's great for promotion.
it's mad how others perceive it. Like, I'm still quite like, but I didn't get gold. Although I'm very happy with what happened, I'm still like, I didn't get gold. But a silver medal, 4 days, 4 fights, it's massive. And I've got to start kind of believing that a bit more.
I think you need to start jumping on the back of that. And, you know, it was how you it was your route as well. You had a tough route.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was how you finished. It was
big
how you
girls.
finished some of those fights as well.
Yeah.
You know, it was fantastic. I think you really made a name for yourself with that.
Hopefully I'm a bit more noticed, just so that helps me out in my journey, not to be...
Yeah. What's the long-term goal? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
I love the Platform 1 Championships. Now, that's not because I don't want to go, ideally, to the UFC, but I love what 1 Championships is about. I love what they give to MMA. It's not... I don't want to sound like I'm blasphemous to UFC. It's just... UFC, you're given maybe a free fight contract, or maybe it might be a 1-for-1 fight contract. You're given a new one every time, but you might have one loss and they kick you out, and then you go down to wherever it might be. Whereas a female that I know that's just been signed to 1 championship, because they're kind of they do competitions in 3 elements: jiu-jitsu, K1, Thai K1, and MMA. They give you a longer lease of life in that championship, and there's more in it. There's more money. You're able to have sponsors, which are not allowed in UFC. You're looked after. It's like kind of, they want you, so they look after you. Whereas it might be seen that UFC doesn't do that so much. And
So is that the long-term goal?
yes, I would love to go to 1 championship.
Right.
But I've got a lot of things to improve in my game. I'm still an amateur. I'm still learning to move my head off the line, and I'm still learning to switch on at the right time. So I'm 27, yes, but a lot of females that are in pro MMA at the moment are in their 30s. Chris Cyborg, for example, 37, I think, or 36. I think she is. So yeah, I've got a long time, and 3 years in the game, I've done this much so far. 2.5 years, you might say. I see a pathway for me, and so does many others around me. There's a big circle that see me going far, and I can only be happy that they believe in me, and I can only work as hard as I've been working and get stronger in my game and go from there.
Brilliant. Last few minutes. I think what we've had to come in the car, obviously, because the gym, there was a class going on and it was so loud, and we wouldn't have got the sound quality that we've got from being in here. Why don't we finish up, if there's any sponsors you want to mention, you can mention them now, or any plugs that you want to, you know, get out there. Let's talk about them now. And then we can go back in, we'll jump in the cage, and you can show me one of your favourite finishes from the ground. Okay, and we'll get that on the video.
All right.
Favourite finish from the ground, and then we'll get that going. All right?
I have to think about that one.
Yeah, well, you've got a few minutes. So, yeah, who were your sponsors, by the way?
So my main sponsors were Silverback Champ.
Yeah.
With Old School Fitness.
Based in Knowsley.
Yeah,
based in Knowsley in Coventry.
My supplement provider was Primal Core. And they offered me like proteins and whatnot. Cool. I had Lions Gym, obviously, with Hardy Wallhead. Yeah. Providing me with great facilities and great training. Yeah. Warren Smith, boxing PT. Yeah. Aaron Kavanagh, Muay Thai PT. Who else do I need to mention? Pitbull provided me with my normal fight kit. Yeah. And to anyone that donated or shared or like kind of put word of mouth out there towards my funding towards Europeans, I really want to thank you, and I appreciate you helping me achieve what I did for not only myself, not only for my gym, but for you guys. So I appreciate that.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Right, Melissa Mullins, brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.